Ladies and gentlemen, I sit before you today a completely different person. I think I've been far too hard on flat earthers for far too long. I think I've missed the simplistic beauty in the meaningless waffle.
If you pour water out of a bottle, what's it going to do? It's going to pour down onto the floor and find its level.
Of course water is going to fall to the floor when you empty a bottle. And the way that this falling water disproves gravity and the shape of the earth, that escaped me for far too long, and I really, really regret it. In fact, I regret it so much I recently hopped into the comment section of famous flat earther Mark Sargent's live stream to leave this man here, DJ Curious, a nice message to let them know how special I think their show is. He thanked me. What a guy. So I decided, in the same week that the world has seen a well-publicised eclipse, that I would give flat earth science a real go. And I would look at how the flat earthers explain an eclipse on the flat earth. And this time, I'm going to take it seriously. So please, don't accuse me of any kind of sarcasm this week in the comment section. This is genuine. So I started my research on Twitter because, as any flat earther knows, that is where the best research is done. And I found this post here from somebody who thought they'd found some kind of anomaly with the way the eclipse looked. And he wasn't the only person to have spotted this anomaly. This Twitter user had also found the same problem. Apparently, lunar eclipses go the wrong way, and there is no globe explanation at all. Now, I know what you're thinking. When a flat earther usually says there is no globe explanation for something, what that usually means is the explanation can be found within 10 seconds of Googling. But I'm not going to be bringing my cynicism to that party. Let's give this guy a first shake.
Okay, well, it's being occulted from the bottom left. Wait, hold on a second. What the hell is that? How is it coming from the other side to re-occult it? Did it take like a right-hand turn? Did it go left? What happened there?
Exactly. Did it take a right-angle turn? Did it go left? What the hell happened there? These are questions that professional astronomers are asking all over the world, because clearly, if we ignore the fact this is exactly what we would expect to see, we would have a problem explaining why we see it. In fact, it's no wonder that Michael from Twitter was also confused. And Brian from Twitter might be onto something when he asked the question, is the Earth actually translucent? And while the world obviously owes a great debt of gratitude to great minds like that, in this instance they are slightly off. There is a slightly more normal explanation. But to actually find out what that explanation was, I had to spend literally minutes of my time coming up with this on PowerPoint. And thanks to this high-level research, I can now reassure astronomers across the globe that actually when the moon passes behind the Earth's circular shadow, we would indeed expect to see it be covered from the bottom left to the top right, and then uncovered from the top left to the bottom right. We can now all sleep just that little bit more easily. But if I'm truly going to be a flat earther, I can't simply just accept an answer that makes absolute sense and perfectly explains what we see around us. I need to find a way to make up utter bullshit to explain what I see. And for that, I needed some help. So I checked out Eric Dubay's channel, and he's previously made up some fantastic nonsense about how eclipses can happen on a flat earth. So good, in fact, that he's used exactly the same explanation twice.
Many people think that modern astronomy's ability to accurately predict lunar and solar eclipses is a result and proof positive of the heliocentric theory of the universe. Many people think that modern astronomy's ability to accurately predict lunar and solar eclipses is a result and proof positive of the heliocentric theory of the universe.
I seriously don't know why I don't think of that as a way to get out more content. Just simply release the same video over and over again under different headings would be fantastic. Now, in Eric Dubay's video, some people might criticize him for not actually explaining how an eclipse happens on a flat earth, but that's not the point of Eric Dubay's video, even if the title is How Eclipses Work on a Flat Earth. But anyway, I did watch Eric Dubay's video. I watched it from start to finish, and after the bleeding stopped, I cut out this clip here, which is the little section where he explains how an eclipse works on the flat earth.
This phenomenon is wholly celestial, involving the luminaries and their regular interactions with one another, and not in any way terrestrial, involving the earth beneath our feet, causing upward casting shadows into the heavens.
Now, those of you who are extraordinarily observant might realize that that clip didn't actually explain in any way, shape or form how an eclipse happens on a flat earth. And Eric Dubay was challenged by one of his own subscribers in his comment section on that very point. Yeah, this guy here kind of had the sense that he'd been left hanging. And he didn't want to be left hanging. He wanted to know, how do these eclipses work? But luckily for everybody, Eric Dubay replied, and he gave us this link here. So I clicked on that link, and it changed my life forever. What I found is something that I can never ever unsee, and I'm going to show you as well. But before I do, can I just remind you that Eric Dubay has nearly 250,000 subscribers. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. If you could help me out there, just ping that button. Please. Anyway, let's check out what was on the other end of Eric Dubay's linky. What I found was this article here, and as I was reading it, I realised that I've never ever before been so confused, bewildered, but also simultaneously enlightened and excited. I think I felt exactly like a flat earther might have felt the first time they actually closed their eyes. And they realised that even though everything around them was dark, they were not actually dead. It was a real revolutionary moment for me. You see, what I learnt was how Eric Dubay really believes an eclipse happens. And it involves this guy here. Now, if you don't know him, his name is Rahu. So Rahu, apparently, is the eternal enemy of the sun and moon. And when an eclipse happens, it's because he's catching the sun and moon by surprise, even though he only comes out when the moon is full. Or, as a subscriber of mine, Timo, said, he catches them by surprise by coming out at perfectly predictable times. He's also a severed head of something called an asura, and he causes eclipses by swallowing the sun. Of course he does. Now, all superheroes deserve a backstory, and Rahu's backstory is that he drank some magic nectar, and that obviously made his disembodied head immortal. And now he spends his time being ravenous, and he regularly ascends into the sky attempting to swallow the sun and the moon. But since he's disembodied, his meals fall back out again. Oh, always hungry. Wow, and after reading that, can you imagine how stupid I feel now, thinking that I could explain something so complicated with this simple PowerPoint presentation? What a fool I was. So I do have to applaud Eric Dubay and his fantastic imagination, but he's not the only flat earther capable of coming up with spectacular nonsense when it comes to explaining how an eclipse might work. For example, this man here giving a flat earth lecture is also asked the question, how does an eclipse work?
What happened with the eclipse of the sun about 15 years ago?
Yeah, they reckon that there may be what's called a black sun in the sky which causes it.
And that's also some great made-up nonsense, well done. And we shouldn't forget Flat Earth Dave. He's brilliant at just coming up with some nonsense. For example, in this video on his channel, he demonstrates peak flat earth thinking by filming a torch through some kind of fabric and then just putting the words on the screen, this proves the sun, an eclipsing object, is small and close to the earth. Fantastic flat earthing, Dave. Or maybe I should adopt Flatzoid's model of what the moon is and how moon phases and eclipses work. He once showed me in a live stream that the moon is actually a ring of plasma.
Look how it's moving based on that.
Does the
Weird.
moon do that?
Is
Does
that
the
not
moon do
visible?
that? Yes or no? Be honest.
Is that part invisible and that part you can see?
It's
which you
an
said
honesty test. Does the moon move like that? Yes or no? Now, spoiler alert, the moon doesn't move like that, but you can't be right every time. Don't hold that against Flatzoid. Anyway, Flat Earth Dave is back and he's showing us how eclipses work in a slightly different way this time. Away goes the plastic sheet and out comes some weird kind of bottle top coin thing. And if you place that in front of a torch, I guess that just shows us everything we need to know. There are literally no more questions that need to be asked. So hopefully that gives you some options in how you might choose to alternatively explain what the moon is and how an eclipse happens. We're going to have a look at a guy now who's going to prove to us that the moon isn't a rock. And he starts off his video, I think what he's doing here is saying the moon isn't a rock because a rock can't lift their arm out and point at something, I think.
I challenge anyone in the comment section to prove that rocks can do that.
Now that is an interesting argument, but to be honest, we're going to save him for another video. This is really about eclipses. So let's get back to how an eclipse happens. Let's see what this guy's got to say.
So a full moon eclipse happens when the full moon, moon and sun opposition is happening in the same zodiac signs as Rahu and Ketu. Astrologers, they get all excited, you know, oh my god, it's eclipse season, shit's popping off, right? It's because the sun is transiting in the same zodiac sign as either Ketu or Rahu, either the south node or the north node. As Rahu and Ketu are the karmic axis, right? Ketu is like your past life. It's your past life deeds. It's what you're already good at. Rahu is your future. It's what you're learning in this lifetime. It's what you're obsessed about in this lifetime. You want to conquer that in this lifetime. This is based on my intuition and what I know, but yeah, you know, your life is fated change happens in your life all the freaking time. And it's just like, oh, what am I going to do?
So we have learned a lot today, but regardless of whether you believe the moon is a two-dimensional local object, or whether you believe it's a cooling light that provides perfect balance with the sun, just like men versus women, or whether you believe that eclipses happen because of some kind of cosmic coin that blocks out the sun, or whether you believe that the moon itself is somehow made of plasma and dances around in the sky in predictable patterns, or whether you believe that eclipses occur because of some decapitated magic superhero that once drunk some magic nectar, who can no longer fulfill his hunger because he has no stomach and he tries to devour the sun, or whether you believe that eclipses occur because there's some kind of fabric that hides the sun, and basically that's all we need to know. Whatever your belief, hold on to it, because the one thing we must agree on is that an eclipse certainly can never be explained by this. Because in my mission of self-reflection this week, one thing I've learned is if we are truly going to be flat earthers, if we're truly going to embrace that lifestyle, the most simple and obviously correct scientific answer is always the answer we must say no to. I want you to rise up and think of as much spectacular bullshit as you possibly can. There is no end to the amount of nonsense that we can make up in the flat earth community. There is no end of nonsense that we can embarrass ourselves with and try and push on other people as if they are meant to take us seriously. We can say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want, and we will be hailed as heroes for it. I am so glad my eyes have been opened to what it is like to be a flat earther. See you next week.